All right, so we are on our theory lesson for Wednesday, September the 17th, 2025. And we've got Lizzy here in the house, and hopefully you, Keenan, will be able to look at this on video. We are starting in on page 11. We've been learning all about notation. We learned in the treble clef that we like to use little sayings. I'm going to use the every good boy deserves fudge, or I believe, Keenan, you're using empty garbage before dad flips, and the face for the spaces. In the bass clef, we've got good boys deserve fudge always, and my feeling is that it might be the same one for you, Keenan, or was it Great Big Drums from Africa? Yeah. It could have been that one as well. And then for the spaces, we have all cows eat grass. We also, Lizzy discovered, need to know the low F in the bass clef, which is at the bottom of the staff, below the good, the line. We also need to know the B, just below middle C, and Keenan, you would know that one well from your piano. In the treble clef, we need to know the D above middle C, which just is below the first line. That's also one that you use all the time in your piano. And then the higher G, which is at the top of the staff, every good boy deserves fudge, F, and then the G right there. We learned about ledger lines as well. Ledger lines are lines that extend the range of the staff. Literally, it's giving the staff a sixth line, a seventh line, and so on. But because our eyes don't like to see more than about 5 lines at a time, we only put them in when it's absolutely necessary to go above that. So, with all that said, we are moving forward to page 11. And it says, write whole notes using a treble clef. Do not use the same pitch twice. Do not use ledger lines. So what we're going to do at the beginning of the lines, because we won't know that it's the treble clef unless we draw them, is let's draw a treble clef at the beginning of each staff right now. And then we're going to go ahead and draw the notes. So if we have the D that we see right there, we could choose the D that is below the E line right there. So that is this D right there. That's what it looks like right there. So if we know E for every is on the first line, D is one below that. When we get the next D a little bit later on, we could use the every good boy deserves one, if you want to do that. Other ones that we see doubles of. The F, we can use face and fudge. The E is only done one. G. So that one is the one that we need to think. Every good boy deserves fudge. F is on the top line. G is just above that. And it looks like that. And Lizzy, that's what it looks like right there. Oh, you can, well, no, you can use that one there and then do that one there. All right, after that, let's finish out the rest of the notes now. You choose where they go. On the last line, I went, every good boy deserves fudge. I just went straight through the line there. Lizzy, that's what mine looks like right there, and I was able to go, every good boy deserves fudge. So I was able to go in line there. All right, and your work looks fantastic. And yep, we are good to go there. And then Keenan, when you have your next lesson, you can either show the work to me in person, or you can bring it up to the screen and you'll be able to show that to me. Or if you have questions, you can ask those questions along the way. We're just going to keep going in order. Question 14. Write whole notes using a treble clef. So let's start again by drawing a treble clef at the beginning of the staff. Do not use the same pitch twice. Use some ledger lines. I'm going to suggest 2 ledger line notes. I'm all about getting the ledger lines out of the way right away. So on the A, if I go, every good boy deserves fudge on the top line, F, then G, we know, is in the space above the line. A gets 1 ledger line. And it looks a lot like a middle C, but it's way up high. Every good boy deserves fudge, F, G, and A. And it looks like that if you choose to do that one for one of your ledger line notes. We are not going to do the E because we're only supposed to do up to 2 ledger lines, and E would require 3, so we're not going to worry about the E. So let's just put the E wherever we want to. I'm going to use the E from face, but you could use every if you want to for the line. For the letter B, we can use a ledger line for this one. So let's go back to our letter A that we have up high. that high A there, what's one note higher than A?
B.
B. So we draw the single ledger line, and then we draw the B in the space above. Instead of around the line, we draw the B in the space above, and that's a fairly high B. Yep, there it is right there. Okay, so that takes care of 2 ledger lines. Then if you wish to do other ledger lines, that is up to you. But I'm not going to do them, so I'm just going to draw the C from face for the C, the G from every good, and the A from face. And I like to do the work as quick as I can, so if I do that, like I say, 2 is enough. I've taken care of my hard work and then do the easy stuff afterwards. And as I'm looking here, Lizzy, that is looking fantastic. Awesome. So, question 15. Write whole notes using an F clef. And which one is the F clef?
The bass clef.
It is the bass clef, absolutely. Do not use the same pitch twice.
The sad face.
Use some ledger lines.
The sad face.
That is a fabulous bass clef. You know what though? Yep, no, it's perfect. It's in fact yours is better than mine. Okay, so let's get through the ledger lines immediately. Now, if I know that I'm going to do, since we did ledger lines above the staff and the treble clef, let's do some ledger lines below the staff and the bass clef. What is the note on the first line, Lizzy?
Here?
Yes.
B.
For the second line is B, because that's for boys.
Oh, I thought it was D.
Because we're in the bass clef, so boys is right there on the second line. What letter?
E.
Every is for the treble clef. There was a different saying you learned.
I thought it was both.
There was every good boy deserves fudge for the lines in the treble clef, but it's a different saying for the bass clef.
It ends in always.
It does. It doesn't start with every. It starts with the second word.
I don't remember.
What's the second word in the saying?
Oh, good boys deserve fun always.
Absolutely. So Lizzy's got good boys deserve fun always, and I think yours was great big drums from Africa. So if we know what letter is on the first line, what goes around the first line? What letter? So what letter is that there? What was the saying again? The way I remember it, it's the second word in the saying from the treble clef.
Good.
Okay, so what letter is G is around the first line. So if G is around the first line, what's one lower than G?
A.
We have to go backwards in the alphabet. So it's a letter before.
So like before G?
Exactly.
F.
F, and what's one before that?
E.
E. So E would require one ledger line, and it would be a line note. And it looks a lot like that. Again, it looks a lot like a middle C, but it is not a middle C. It is an E right there, G, F, E. Now, for the letter F, we're going to go back to above the staff. And I did not write this book. They did not give us much space because of the way they've written the question there. But for the bass clef notes, we're going to use our saying. So I will use the one that Lizzy is using right now. Good boys deserve fun always. What's on the top line?
A.
An A. So to get this F, that's going to be way higher. I'll show you how I do it, Lizzy. I go A, B, C. So C requires one ledger line. D is above that. E requires another ledger line. And then the F is going to get a little bit into the print. And as I say, it's not our fault. The people who did that. So I'll just do that again with you, Lizzy. A, B, C, D, E, and F. And it requires 2 ledger lines. And it looks a bit like this. I know it's a little squeezed in there. A on the top line, B in the space, middle C around the line, D in the space, E around the line, and F up high. And that takes care of 2 ledger line notes. Now we can go ahead and just draw regular notes after that, unless you wish to draw more ledger line notes. So what saying could you use for this E?
All cows eat.
All cows eat grass for the spaces, absolutely. Can you use the same saying for the next one? Mm-hmm. And the next one?
Yeah.
Yep, so we're doing all space notes here. And then where's the D gonna go? That was good. Well, now we have to remember that this is an F clef, and the F represents the fourth line of the staff.
That's the third one.
It is the third line. Good boys deserve, or if you're using great big drums. And
Write it.
the answer should look something like that there. All right. We have one more question to do, and we may as well get this out of the way, and page 11 is out of there. Write the name of each of the following notes neatly under each staff. And let's go ahead and we'll name the notes there. I am going to time it as well. I know I can go. I should hope that I would be able to go fast, being the teacher. So, the reason I sometimes like to time myself is that it is very helpful to be able to do the work efficiently. And sometimes we are on a timeline, so it's a great way to test ourselves when we're doing it as well. I would try to keep going. Do the ones that you know, because that way, like I say, you're going to save more time in the long run. There are lots there, and some are even at the top of the page. And remember, you are allowed to look back. It's always an open book exercise, so you can look back to see what the letter names are too. So we're still looking for this, and we've got a few letter names. So remember, it is open book. You are allowed to look back on previous pages. I think the answers are on previous pages for you if needed. So take a look. You've got some ledger line notes here. I see a whole bunch of them in there, and I see more over here. Yep.
That's a lot of teeth.
I don't think that one's a D.
Oh, look at the wrong thing. That's a base color.
Mm-hmm. If it's not on there, it's going to be probably over on the other page, which is just literally to your left there.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Don't think that one is a G.
It says it's a
G has two ledger lines and it's below in a
What's
space.
that one?
I believe the letter is marked above the staff, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't do anything.
And I think we got one to go.
One more.
Oh, and you know what? The first note, I don't think is an E.
I always thought it was clear, and I just realized it's
It's an E in the bass clef, but not in the treble clef. It's our good friend.
I always get these two mixed up.
They're very mix-upable, but what is that particular note in the treble clef?
Oh, C.
It's our good old friend middle C. Awesome.
Wait, is it C, C, C?
So I think, if I'm timing it correctly, I could be totally wrong, but I think it was 4 minutes and 45 seconds that it took you to get through that. I would say, if you wanted to, and I guess it's not going to really work well, because if you rub them out, you're going to see what the letters are still probably, but you could always try doing them again, or cover them up and see if you can name them aloud and see how long it takes you. Ideally, you don't have to take as a little time as I did, but I would say if it took you 4 minutes to do, perhaps you might want to get it to maybe a minute. So be able to cut out 3 minutes, and you could in a long time. I was able to do it in 15 seconds, and Keenan, you can time yourself and maybe write down how long it took you to get those notes there. We are done with page 11, out of there. Moving on to a new chapter, onwards and upwards, page 12. So page 12 has big words that sound scarier than they actually are. They're not that difficult at all. Semitones, tones, and accidentals. So it says here at the top of the page, a little bit about keyboards. It is important that all theory students become familiar with the keyboard. A standard full-size keyboard has 88 keys, and each white key has a name that corresponds to one note on the great staff. The easiest key to find is D. That's what it says here in this book. So, a full-size keyboard, that's like the keyboard that I have in the studio over here, would be on a standard piano and a full-size digital piano. Some keyboards have only 61 keys. Other ones, I think that I've seen some that have 79. I have seen ones that have 32 keys as well, small ones. I've also seen grand pianos such as the Bösendorfer, which is out at the Sterling Theater, and it has at least 3 extra keys, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe with steps, I'd say maybe about 4 extra keys altogether. So there are extra notes on that particular one. So that would be more than 88 keys. But most keyboards have the full 88 keys. Why they say that D is the easiest to find is that it is in between the group of 2 black keys. So every group of 2 black keys, there is a D. So I'm going to take Lizzy on a field trip right now. Come on over to the piano.
I think C's easier.
And I would like you to find for me 5 D's at the piano. And Keenan will be able to hear you play those notes there. And so we'll just let that, it's just booting up here for a moment. And she's found the first one, the lowest one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You may as well find the rest. 6, 7. So there are 7 D's total. If there was an extra key there, that would have been a D right there. All right, then it says black keys are in groups of 2s and 3s. You'll sometimes hear me call them the twins and the triplets. And all of the black keys are in groups of 2s and 3s. At the bottom of a full-size piano, you'll notice there's just 1 black key. If there were more black keys, such as on the Bösendorfer, there would be a group of 3 black keys. So it's just that the hands don't really usually want to stretch much further than that there. The white key between the 2 black keys is D, which we've just been chatting about. Going up, the next key, white key to the right of D is E, F, and so on. Going down, the white key to the left of D is C, B, etc. So what we need to know, again, just to remind you, is we must be able to say the letter names of the musical alphabet forwards and backwards. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. Your turn, Lizzy.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, B, A.
Good job, Lizzy. And Keenan, you can do the same thing as well for your practice as well. Page 12, out of there. No other work to deal with there. They do show a little picture of the staff here. What is the first, out of curiosity, what is the first note there, Lizzy?
B.
It is not a B. Good boys. That would be on a line.
That's on the down. C?
It is a C. You may want to just mark that that first note is a C. We're not going to mark all the letter names in, but what about the highest note in the treble clef? That's the last note.
This one?
Yeah.
No, it's also a C.
It's also a C. So we just marked in the letter C at the bottom in case you want to reference the keyboard there. They show you a nice picture of a keyboard above the staff, and then these notes literally go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. They repeat the middle C here, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And there is a note at the bottom, which is important. Although we try to space our ledger lines about the same as staff lines, if you did middle C literally in the middle of a grand staff, it would not look right. It would look like it was kind of offset. So in the bass clef, middle C is written a little closer to the bass staff. In the treble clef, middle C is written a little closer to the treble staff, but they are the same note. Page 13.
It's not coffee.
Pardon me? Yes, I've just about half a cup left. Maybe. Page 13, hints. I love these little hints that they could put in here. Using the keyboard will help you in many ways, from checking pitch to thinking in chords and harmony later on. You should also get into the habit of checking all of your theory work by playing it on a keyboard or your own instrument. There is no better way to understand the sound of music than to hear it. And I encourage you, I'm going to tell you a couple of things that will help you. I have discovered this over my years of teaching. I need to write a book and make a mint from all of my insights on teaching. I'm just kidding. But this is a really important insight. When you actually play what you write, you remember it that much better. Not only to write it in your music theory, but to play it or to sing it. So you will, I kid you not, and that's one thing that I still think is so important, that we should be writing a lot of the stuff that we do. I know there's a lot of stuff that we're doing on tablets and computers and stuff like that, but I'm going to tell you that handwriting makes a difference. So, as well, I like to be able to think. Well, I can tell you when I did theory, my teacher used to say, oh, you'll hear the music. Can't you hear the music when you look at it on the page? I said, no, of course I can't hear it. It's on a piece of paper. I have to go and play it. And she said to me, she said, you will hear the music on there. I hear the music on these pages now, but it's because I've played it so much as well. So let's continue talking on page 13 about semitones. Have you heard the word semitone before? Excellent. And I'm sure you've heard it as well, Keenan. A semitone is the shortest distance between a note and the very next note. Semi meaning half, tone meaning sound or pitch. So usually what happens is we go from a white key to the very next black key, or from the black key to the very next white key. And you can move up or down to move by a semitone. They would say move a semitone up or move a semitone down. However, you'll notice between the letters E and F and B and C, there are no black keys in between. So from E to F is a semitone, and from B to C is a semitone. Likewise, if we go backwards, C to B is a semitone, and F to E is a semitone. All of the other ones would be F to F sharp, or G to G flat. Those are all semitones as well. And it says here, a white key to a black one is a half step or semitone. And they say, see the dots in the example. I think the letter, what letter are they representing there, Lizzy? And we're looking at the, pardon me? It is not E. What was the easiest note to find?
D.
Where is the D? There's a D there, so go backwards until you find that. So we're looking for this one here. So there's D there. What's before that? I'll go the opposite direction. So there's D here. What's that? And in fact, you could write the letters in if you want to as well.
G.
It is a G, absolutely. Write that G there. So what would that semitone be up from G? How would you call that? A is here, but we have to call it G something. Or you could call it A something too. It actually has two names. And we'll talk.
G sharp.
We could call it G sharp, or you could call it A flat, actually. Either answer is acceptable. That's a semitone. Now, Lizzy, can you tell me what this letter is? The first one, that one right there.
E.
It is an E. Maybe just print the E right there, or underneath there. And what is the semitone higher than E?
Going down.
Just with the dot, yeah. It's just plain F because there's no black key. We're going to learn something about this in a moment, but I'm just going to show you what Lizzy and I have done here. And I'm doing the same thing here. So just so that you can see that in the example there, we have a G to a G sharp, or also could be called an A flat, and we have an E to an F. Now, time to blow your minds here. E and F are a semitone apart, but you can call F by another name. And it's a really confusing one, but it is true. The letter F could also be called E sharp, because a sharp is the next key to the right, no matter what it is. So normally it goes from a white key to a black key on the piano, but E to E sharp is the same as E to F. So I'm going to add that into my example like that, Lizzy, so that you have an example that that is also known as E sharp. And you may say, well, why would I ever use E sharp instead of F? I'm not going to confuse you too much by adding too much into it, but there are reasons why that letter exists. I promise you that they will make sense further along. And the other reason why it makes total sense is that there are lots of people who play other instruments other than the keyboard. So on the keyboard, we're thinking white and black keys. But if you're playing a flute or a clarinet or a saxophone, are you thinking of white and black keys when you play that? No. So the flute can think of an E sharp, and they're not thinking of it being a white key there. Okay, so continuing along, we have a hint at the bottom, towards the bottom of the page. A semitone or half step is the distance between a white key and the next black key, a black key and the next white key, the white keys of B and C, the white keys of E and F, and we can call it B to B sharp or E to E sharp. Likewise, I'm going to just again I'm going to skip ahead. So spoiler alert, I could go C to C flat, F to F flat. Those exist as well. So we won't worry too much about that now, because we're going to be getting to that shortly. There's one final exercise on page 13. It says, directly on the keyboard, place an X to mark two pairs of semitones between a white and a black key. So how I do it is I kind of draw the X like this. So there's the black key and the white key. It's going to look a little messy. That's how I do it. So black key to a white key or white to a black key. And you can go ahead and you can choose any one that you want to draw the X for. So it's from a white key to a black key, or a black key to a white key. And the ones I chose to do for that were these ones right there. So a white key to a black key. Then, that looks good, Lizzy, and choose one more. It doesn't matter which one you do. Sure, yep, any one is fine. Then it says an O to mark two pairs of semitones between two white keys. So where I'm going to do that is, I'll show you how I do it, Lizzy. Where there is no black key in between, I draw the O right there. And there are a few options. The two O's that I decided upon were not going to conflict with the X's. So we have some X's and O's, and that's page 13. Out of there, done. Okay, over the page. All right, so accidentals. Have you heard that word before, Lizzy? Excellent. So accidentals sound like a mistake or an accident, but in music terms, they are not. Accidentals are just symbols that alter the pitch of a note. And the three that we see the most often are number 1,
Sharps.
Number 2,
Flat.
Number 3,
Natural.
Excellent. Accidentals are symbols placed before a note on the staff to change the pitch of that note by a semitone or half step. In Theory 1, we need to know 3 different accidentals, and I will reiterate: sharps, flats, and naturals. FYI, I'm going to spoiler alert again, what you do in Theory 2, there are such things as double sharps and double flats as well. So they do exist, but not very often when we have to see them. Okay, so number 1, we're going to specifically talk about the sharp sign. A sharp raises the pitch of a note by a semitone. So as we look at these examples, we have C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and E sharp right there. And they show us on the keyboard going from C up to C sharp, D up to D sharp, and E to E sharp, which is the same as the letter F. Now, a couple of things about drawing them. When we draw a sharp, we always draw the sharp before the oval. So when it's on a note on the staff, the sharp goes before the oval. But when we name it, we name the sharp after the letter name the way you would say it. So before the note, after the letter name. So if you take a look at the C sharp, it's going to be literally on the staff, sharp C. But in the reality of the naming of it, C sharp. I don't write the word sharp out. You can if you wish to, but I actually just put a sharp sign after it. So that makes sense, before the note, after the letter name. If you ever have to draw more than one sharp, when writing sharps, the little box formed by the sharp sign must be exactly on the same line or space as the note head. So if we are in the, let's pretend that this example is in the treble clef. What would the highest note be if it was in the treble clef? And we're looking at the little box in the middle where the hint is.
That one?
Yes.
The top one?
Pardon me?
The top one?
Yes, the top one. If it was the treble clef. It's our familiar good old saying, not the one that's different.
Because I'm trying to like say if it's B or like that.
But what's the saying that we learned for the lines in the treble clef?
Oh, it's F.
It is an F. Do you see how the F is on the top line? The sharp must also go on the top line as well. If you drew it in the fourth space, we wouldn't be able to tell that it's an F sharp. And what is, if it was the treble clef, what is the lowest note?
C.
Can you say it again?
C.
It is a C. And you'll notice if a C is in the third space, so the sharp must also go in the third space. And you'll notice one other thing. We don't often have to draw two stacked on top of each other like that, but we sometimes do. Did you notice that those sharps are what we call staggered? They're not written directly on top of each other, because if they were written on top of each other, it could get a little messy looking. It might be a little hard to read. So the F sharp is drawn a little further away than the C sharp. It's not necessarily right to draw one closer and one further away. That I will leave to you to decide, but we do usually stagger them to make them slightly easier to read. One more thing on the bottom of page 14, and it's out of there. A special note about B and E. Though most sharps occur on black keys, there are two white key sharps. When B is given a sharp, it moves up a semitone to C, but called B sharp. B sharp and C are the same key and have the same sound. When E is given a sharp, it moves up a semitone to F, but called E sharp. E sharp and F are the same key and have the same sound. And we're getting over to page 15 now, and this is probably where we will be stopping today. Hints. A sharp raises the note, the pitch up a semitone, from a white key to the next black key. From white key B to white key C, called B sharp. From white key E to white key F, called E sharp. A key can have more than one name. For example, B sharp and C are different names for the same note. So are E sharp and F. So our exercises here. Raise the following notes one semitone by adding a sharp. So here's what I do. One thing when I have to do more than one instruction, I start with doing the first instruction first. I don't try to do it all at once. So by adding a sharp, that means to put the sharp directly to the left of the note in the same line or space. Now, I'm not as neat as computers. In fact, I'm not neat at all, but I've done my best to keep it within the line. Does that make sense, Lizzie? All right, then you can go ahead and draw sharps all the way across. I'll just show you how I did the first two, and we do that all the way across the line. Don't even worry about naming any letter names yet. When you get to the middle C sharp, we have to imagine you're not going to draw an extra ledger line or anything. You're going to draw it right beside the note. So, yep, that's how you do it there. Exactly. You don't have to draw an extra staff line or anything there. And keep on going. Yep, you may as well do the last half too. So you'll notice that this line of music is in two parts, one part bass clef and one part the treble clef. And once Lizzie has got her sharps in there, we're going to start naming the notes. And I think we should time ourselves again and see how long it takes to do this. All right. So this is a little shorter. So I'm saying, even though you have to draw sharps, we're going to try to do this within 2 minutes. Okay. So
After sharps, like.
we're going to do the first one. So we won't count that as part of the timing. So what is that first? A whole, oh yes, yeah, you're gonna, yeah, you can do that. She's just writing her saying down. Okay, so what is that first note?
C.
C sharp. And how we do it, we're not going to time this one yet. You know,